Welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the show. We're here today with the second Cabral HouseCall of the weekend, where we will be picking back up where we left off, answering our community's questions. Hopefully you were able to tune into yesterday's show where we answered at least 6, probably 7, 8 different questions on weight loss specifically and kind of getting rid of that roll on the back of the neck. We talked about that. We talked about hemoglobin A1C and its relationship to fasting glucose being a little bit elevated in the morning, what to be able to do about that, and rising insulin in the morning as well. Spoke about reverse osmosis filters and also being able to find the best saunas, the best equipment overall for you. Talked about magnesium deficiency, looking at that versus diet for sleep. Talked about a new product that combines pumpkin seeds with water that basically makes a vegan-based version of tofu without the soy, so you can check that out. What else? Then we talked about air filters. We talked about estrogen levels, imbalances with cortisol levels. So a lot went on yesterday's show. So hopefully you checked that out. That was just episode 1723. You can find every single podcast, all the previous podcasts at stephencabral.com/podcasts. All right. So we're going to get into today's questions. These are about 5 weeks or so behind now. So we're looking at the first questions coming in on September 23rd. So if you ask your question before September 23rd, it will already have been answered. And if you wrote in after September 23rd, your answer is coming. Your question will be read live on the weekend house calls. All right. So without further ado, let's get into today's questions. First question is from Krystal. Krystal says, "Hello, Dr. Cabral. I'm experiencing some eye twitching. It started a few months ago during quarantine and lasted at least 3 months. It happened every day and all day. Super annoying, to say the least. It finally went away randomly, but now I'm getting it again. It doesn't last as long, but it happens at random times of the day. I drink your shake every morning, and I just started your adrenal soothe and estrogen supplement. Started both of these products after the eye twitching. Hope you can help. Thanks." All right. Well, I'm really happy to hear you started the adrenal soothe because much of the time, the eye twitching can actually be from stress. And the adrenal soothe, along with magnesium, are a great 1-2 combo for relaxing the central nervous system, relaxing the mind, body, muscles. So here's what we want to think about. Eye twitching could be a lack of any one of your electrolytes, typically magnesium. The second one might be calcium and magnesium combined. We'll talk about that. And the third is potassium. Very rarely is it a sodium deficiency. But again, so here's what I've seen in my practice. Magnesium is number 1. Calcium is number 2. And then potassium you should definitely be getting would be number 3. Potassium, I look at more for like leg cramping, things like that. But again, magnesium can be great for that. So here's what to do. Again, I can't give you a treatment plan. I can't give you a specific cure. We can't diagnose any disease. That's not what we're doing. I always want to make sure we stay within our regulations and scope of practice. But if I were in your position, I would first use magnesium. So I would use magnesium, probably 1 capsule at lunch, 2 capsules at dinner of the full spectrum magnesium, maybe the deep sleep protocol before bed or sleep support protocol before bed, which has more magnesium citrate. Try that for 3 days, see if it goes away. If it did, it's most likely was a magnesium deficiency. Why would you have a magnesium deficiency? Well, you would end up with a functional magnesium deficiency if you were sympathetic nervous system dominant, because magnesium is used at a greater degree to try to calm and squelch fight or flight. So that's one of the reasons why you can become deficient in it in certain times. It's why eye twitching can come and go. But some people use magnesium and it doesn't fix the issue. So what do? Well, at that point, it can actually be calcium and magnesium. Calcium and magnesium are actually needed for muscle contraction. Okay, so here's what we do in that case. We typically do 1 capsule of CalMag at lunch, 2 capsules of CalMag Complete at dinner, same product, CalMag Complete. And then we just use that. But then we can also, if we choose to, then add the magnesium citrate powder before bed as well. So again, it's all about testing variables. That's really what it is. It's like, okay, let's first just do magnesium, full spectrum magnesium. All right, then let's do full spectrum magnesium with the magnesium citrate before bed. How did that work? Worse, better, the same. Do it for at least 3 days to a week. Then after that, okay, let's do CalMag Complete. Let's try that. Did CalMag Complete work? Okay, we're doing that for a week. Didn't get the results we needed. Okay, let's move to potassium. Easy, simple source of potassium at a higher dosage, right? What's a higher dosage of potassium? Well, hundreds of milligrams, right? So coconut water. I mean, I'm not an advocate of coconut water simply because it's like a lot of times loaded with sugar. That's one of the issues. But if you just get a natural coconut water, and again, you're looking to get rid of the side twitch and you're on your third variable, I would just go with coconut water, natural, pure coconut water, 1 ingredient, organic coconut water. Good. That's all. And so now you're getting that big boost of that potassium, which is one of the electrolytes. So hopefully this has been helpful. Again, every morning too, squeeze a lime. There's potassium with a pinch of sea salt. There's your sodium. So you have a nice natural electrolyte drink there. But usually, again, in my practice, 8 out of 10 times, it's the magnesium. So that was a long answer, but I hope that helps. Eye twitches, settled. Okay. Topically, people put on castor oil, things like that. I have no problem with doing a little castor oil around the eye. No issues, but it's typically always internal, exhibiting external symptoms. All right. Next up is our friend Michael. Michael says, I'm experiencing die-off symptoms. A week later, I try to introduce probiotics again, but it seems like I had a histamine reaction. Do you believe the caprylic acid had something to do with it? I feel like I missed the first half of this question. Am I missing more to this question? Experiencing die-off symptoms. Week later, try to introduce probiotics again, but it seems like a histamine reaction. Do you believe caprylic acid had something to do with this? Well, let me see. Let me actually see if this question got cut off completely while transferring this to my iPad. So I'm going to do a little look right here. Just want to make sure I get Michael's. No, I have Michael's question right here, and it is just a cutoff small question. All right. No problem at all. So let's talk then about, it did. All right. It's in 2 pieces. It's saying, hello, Dr. Cabral, I have a question. Can probiotics cause histamine reactions? And then the other half seems to be, I'm experiencing die-off. A week later, I try to introduce probiotics again, but it does seem like I have a histamine reaction. Do you believe the caprylic acid has something to do with it? All right. So let's answer the question, can probiotics cause histamine-based reactions? And I've actually gone through this before, believe it or not, on one of my main podcasts on mast cell issues as well as histamine issues. So you can certainly go to stevencabral.com/podcast. Just type in histamine. You'll see all my different shows on histamine, or you can type in mast cell as well, which is MAST. But let's give you your answer on this, because I think this is a really important question. So here's the issue, that yes, probiotics can absolutely cause histamine-based issues, but the real truth of the matter is typically they won't, even if susceptible, like genetically susceptible to more histamine-based reaction or mast cell reaction, when you balance and rebalance your gut. So typically, I'm going to give you the big 4 again, in case you haven't heard this before. H. pylori, parasites, yeast, fungal, candida overgrowth, or bacterial overgrowth, sometimes referred to as SIBO or SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. So it's one of those, typically, that's interfering with the gut. Of course, food sensitivities, poor digestion, antibiotic use, ibuprofen, alcohol, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Again, lots of things can cause leaky gut. But we basically have this imbalance in the microbiome. And the imbalance causes you to not be able to keep balanced bacteria. So there could be an overgrowth of yeast, which is crowding out some of the good bacteria. There can be an overgrowth of negative forms of bacteria that are crowding out the types of bacteria that you do need as well. So 2 for specifically are E. coli and Salmonella Tifamurium. So what does that even mean? Like, why does that matter at all to you? Well, you can actually do a test called the bacterium parasite stool test that might tell you if you have some of this E. coli overgrowth. Because if you have an overgrowth of E. coli, which by the way is naturally present in the intestines, but when it's overgrown, it can actually produce more of these histamine releasing issues. So what I like to talk to people about is reducing the fermented foods in the beginning, reducing the smoked or aged-based foods. All of that will help to reduce your total rain barrel, your total toxic load of histamines in the body, until you can rebalance your intestines to make more of the good bacteria. They can actually start to take that in. We'll talk about that in just one second. But also, what I want to share with you is this, is that your body naturally produces an enzyme to degrade histamines. It's called diamine oxidase, or just DAO. Yes, you can take it as a supplement, but it's better for your body to produce it on its own. So now that I'm talking about this and really going in depth, I should probably turn this into its own podcast, and I most likely will in the future. But just for your reference, Michael, I want to share with you this, that there are low histamine probiotics. Our daily probiotic support by Equilife and our dairy-free lactobacillus are actually two of those. Now, most people don't know this, but most probiotics are actually made with dairy. We make ours vegan-based, we make ours plant-based, so they're not made from the fermentable dairy, which typically means they're gonna have less of that histamine-based reaction, especially our acidophilus, which is very, very, well, it's a special probiotic done in a way without dairy. Most acidophilus is absolutely dairy-based. So, and I'm not saying that's bad if your gut is balanced, but most people we work with, they're not. So, look for the dairy-free probiotics. Lactobacillus plantarum, rhamnosus salivarius are histamine degraders. Lactobacillus reuteri, which is one of my favorites, is a producer of a helpful form of histamine. So again, like plantarum, reuteri, L. reuteri are absolutely two of my favorites in there. Of course, L. acidophilus specific strains are great. B. infantis is great. Lactobacillus gasseri, Bifidobacterium brevi. Again, I'm going to do a whole show in this, so let's not get too overboard. But let me give you a couple that are you want to stay away from for right now at least. And that's going to be, again, at smaller dosages, okay, if you have the other antihistamine-based probiotics, but Lactobacillus casei, L. bulgaricus, Streptococcus thermophilus, Lactobacillus Helveticus as well. So again, I'll do a separate show because I don't want to turn this into a massive, massive show because these are all supposed to be just a couple minute answers. But this has brought up a really great topic. So Michael, I appreciate you asking this question. And for future upcoming shows on probiotics and histamine issues, just head on over to stephencabral.com/podcast. Definitely stay tuned for more updated shows. All right. Next question is going to be from, now that I lost my place, going to two Michael questions, but Michael, really great questions. Paul is up next. Hi, Dr. Cabral. What are your views in quail eggs? Do you think people will usually react less to quail eggs compared to chicken eggs? Are they generally less reactive, or is it the same thing? Paul, a great question. So here's the thing. There's a lot of debate over this. Is it the actual chicken egg that we are reacting to? Because again, in my practice, you'll see that it's typically the second or third most common IgG food sensitivity, which is why if you have not run your at-home food sensitivity test, head on over to equa.life for yourself, for your family, because so many people are sensitive to eggs. You need to see if you are, especially if you eat them a couple times a week. So here's what I want to share with you about this. A lot of people say, well, I don't eat the yolk because I know the yolk is probably the bad part for me. Well, first of all, not true. But second of all, I kind of glaze over that, but I've talked about that on a different show. But it's actually the white that's more of the food sensitivity. It contains more specific proteins and more allergens in the white. Not more protein, just other types of protein. So here's what I want to share with you. Yes, people are typically less reactive to quail eggs or duck eggs. So when we go to Maine, my family and I typically have duck eggs when we can get them, of course, but local farms have these duck eggs, and the eggs are enormous. They're these enormous, really hard shell. You can tell a good quality egg by the thickness of the shell and the brightness of that yolk. You want that yolk almost like red-orange, and that shows all those great omegas. The paler the yolk, the weaker the shell, the weaker the nutrients in that egg. Okay, so why would duck eggs or quail eggs be less reactive? Well, first of all, you don't eat them. People typically aren't eating them as much. There's going to be less reactivity there. And also, these are more pastured, wild-based poultry. And when we get that as the egg, they haven't eaten the same type of toxins. So, for example, when you get chickens from your local grocery food store, they are being fed all sorts of corn and soy and preservatives and maybe even antibiotics and additives and all sorts of things that they shouldn't be eating. Other chickens they throw in there sometimes. So it's not a good thing. It's not healthy for you. And your body could be reacting also to the higher levels of allergens within that egg itself, okay? So yes, I do believe that, again, if you're gonna eat chicken-based eggs, I don't have an issue with that. What I'd like to just make sure, we're not going overboard, of course. I don't think that people should eat eggs every day. I'll explain that in a future show. I think that we should definitely vary our proteins. But with eggs themselves, just make sure they are pastured, that their eggs are eating the natural diet of what a chicken would eat. That makes sense, right? So again, same goes for cows. We've seen the same thing. Cow milk, number one reactivity for children and adults. Number one, seriously, number one. Doesn't matter if you don't get bloated or sneeze when you have it, like whatever it might be. We're talking about the proteins and a latent reaction. Sheep, goat's milk, less reactivity in 9 out of 10 people. 1 out of 10 still have a reactivity to goat and sheep, but you'll find it much, much less. Just again, fed better food, smaller protein molecules, etc. All right, great question. Alice is up. Absolutely loving your work. You are so knowledgeable. What an inspiration. Thank you, Alice. I appreciate that. My question is, for those that are moving from the CBO straight from the 21-day detox, so CBO protocol is, by the way, our gut balancing protocol, from the 21-day detox, which is our functional medicine detox, for people that don't speak our language, you can head over to equa.life to find all of these things. Do we need to start counting the days from zero again? In other words, would we have to wait another 21 days to start eating grains, for example? Or could we count the 21 days in the detox as part of the CBO too? This would mean that by the end of the detox, I could reintroduce eggs once a week. Okay, great question. So this is an easy question, and you can absolutely ask it anytime you want, just at cabralsupportgroup.com. Take advantage of that. It's a free group. I mean, honestly, it's a free Facebook group where you get free advice. So head over to cabralsupportgroup.com, 10,000 of our community members strong and growing every single day. So the answer is you're all set. You did your 21-day elimination diet on the detox, and then when you start the CBO, then you could introduce your first grain if you choose to and see how your body reacts. But it's one variable at a time. So you could try the eggs as the one variable for that week, have them a couple times. Any reaction, immediate, within a couple hours, or delayed over the next day or two. Bloating, skin itchiness, headaches, brain fog, poor sleep, low mood. Check for those. And then you have them again. Any issues? No. If no, okay, then move on to whatever you choose to eat next that's allowed on the plan. All right. Good question. Let's get one more in. Kels is asking, I'm wondering if you have any experience with applied kinesiology or muscle testing. I searched for in your podcast and nothing showed up. I recently got a job in a chiropractor's office that does a lot of muscle testing to figure out what is wrong with people. I will be doing my own research on the side, but I really respect your opinion on the health topics, so I wanted to ask yours regarding this reflex therapy. Thank you. All right, so I've definitely answered this at least a half a dozen times. If you type in muscle testing at stephencabral.com/podcast, it has to pop up. I have to look at that right now. So if we go to stephencabral.com/podcast, let's check that out. Because that is where you're going to find your answers without having to wait 4 to 6 weeks for me to answer it on the Cabral House Calls. So let's just type in muscle testing. Let's see what we find. And we find it on episode 1310, 401, 1703, 1632, 1514, 1465. Okay, so I've certainly answered it before, but let's give you your answer. I'm going to answer this one more time, and then I'll direct people back to this podcast and others in the future, because it is a good question. So I'm actually not against what's called the relaxation response. I reviewed the book many, many years ago. If you haven't read the book, it's called The Relaxation Response. You can check out muscle testing. You can check out muscle kinesiology, any of those specific things. But basically what happens is a practitioner, and you can even do it on yourself, you ask the person a question, and you see how does the body react when you ask that question from a much deeper subconscious level that you are not able to control. So typically, you don't have to do it this way, but you'll have your arm out and you will resist it being pushed down. Again, there are different ways of doing this on yourself, and you can look that up because I'm not going to go through and teach that right now because, again, you can absolutely look these things up. And what happens is if your body is a yes and strong, you believe that question, or you're non-reactive to the product, food, whatever, then your arm should stay strong and you shouldn't be able to push it down. Now, if you are sensitive to a particular food or product or belief, your arm will become weak and it will basically, and I'm giving you this at a basic level, but your arm will then just be able to fall down naturally and you won't be able to resist it. The problem is this, and I'm not against it. So I'm absolutely not against it. It could be used as an adjunct of your practice, but I absolutely do not believe it in all cases, and it's not my go-to. Here's why. You can't replicate it over and over and over, and you can't replicate it in different practices. And I'll share with you why. When I was going through my diseases and I was going through my healing process, I went to multiple muscle testing practitioners and they gave me different answers and different results. And I was like, well, which one is correct and which one isn't? And you might say, well, you have to go to the right practitioner. And I agree. But here's the thing. If you really want to know what's wrong with you, I mean, like, I'm just being honest. If you really want to know what's wrong with you, and let's take, for example, weight loss, okay? You don't know why you can't lose weight. If you run something like just these stress hormones, mood and metabolism test, you're going to find out what your estrogen levels are, what your progesterone levels are. If estrogen levels are higher than progesterone levels, you're going to start to swell with water weight. You're going to put on more body fat. If you have low levels of testosterone, even as a female, you're not going to be able to add as much good lean muscle mass. You're not going to be able to burn as much body fat. Same with DHEA. Let's say you have high cortisol levels at night and lower in the morning. Well, you're going to have more brain fog in the morning, a little bit groggier in the morning, and you're going to have difficulty burning the body fat, especially around the middle. And then if we look in that same lab, your thyroid levels, well, if you have lower levels of thyroid, especially just functional low levels of thyroid, your metabolism is going to be lower. Thinner hair, cold hands, cold feet, cold nose sometimes, poor circulation, and poor metabolism, poor metabolic rate. Same with vitamin D, same with blood sugar levels. So again, like, you'll be able to figure that out. And that's why, again, I'm not against muscle testing. I never want to be thought of that way. I actually promote all natural health things. I really do. And I do believe in it because there is something to it, but I like replicable results and you can't deny data. So if again, I always just say you're going to come to a point where you don't want to guess anymore and you want to test. And so I believe in at-home functional medicine lab testing. It helped me get well, helped me figure out that I had, again, the Addison's disease, the type 2 diabetes, those types of things. And again, I'm extremely grateful and I simply try to pay it forward. These are the labs that I believe in. You can find all the labs that we recommend. We don't own any of our own labs. If you want to see the labs that we recommend that come with a consultation, education, and a plan, head over to equi.life, EQUI.LIFE. So again, I'm not against muscle testing, not against muscle kinesiology, believe in it, but it's not my go-to for sure. So hopefully that was helpful. Thank you everyone for tuning into another Cabral House Call. This is the weekend edition of the Cabral Concept, where we answer all of our community's questions each and every weekend. Take care, and I will talk with you tomorrow on our Mindset and Motivation Monday, the best way to start the week. Are you ready to heal yourself and then go on to heal others? If so, the Integrative Health Practitioner Institute can help you discover proven functional medicine protocols that blend the best of 7 different healing disciplines from around the world. I personally share with you the exact handouts and protocols I use in my private practice that enable people to get well, lose the weight, and live longer, stronger. I want to pass this information on to the next generation of health coaches, and that is exactly why I created IHP. We are the future of the health coaching industry, and the skills and knowledge you will learn will make you an in-demand certified health coach anywhere in the world. Although we have many medical professionals taking the IHP certifications, no experience is necessary, and half our members have no previous health certifications. At the Integrative Health Practitioner Institute, our motto is a health coach in every home. Our goal is that you take this knowledge and then share it with family, friends, loved ones, your community, or in a practice where you create a career you love and can be proud of. The global IHP community is filled with some of the most kind and caring people in the world, and we can't wait to welcome you into our world soon. For more information or to set up a discovery call with one of our IHP Health Coach graduates, simply head over to integrativehealthpractitioner.org.